His new studio apartment was small, echoing with a hollow sound that made his ears ring. Without his parents' voices or the hum of the family television, the silence felt heavy, like a blanket he wasn't sure how to wear. He sat on his single mattress on the floor, looking at the bare white walls and wondering how he would ever make this place feel like a home. The boxes were stacked high in the entryway of his childhood home, looking like a cardboard mountain range. Akito took a deep breath, the scent of packing tape and old memories filling his lungs. He held a single brass key tightly in his palm, its edges sharp and promising. It was time to step out of the front door and into a world that finally belonged to him. The university campus was a sprawling sea of brick, glass, and rushing people. Akito felt like a small boat in a very large ocean as he clutched his printed map. Every building looked the same, and every student seemed to know exactly where they were going. He took a shaky step forward, realizing that being an adult meant finding his own way, even when the map didn't make sense. While struggling to carry a heavy bag of groceries up the narrow apartment stairs, Akito bumped into a boy his age. The boy, who wore a bright yellow hoodie and a friendly grin, reached out to steady the wobbling bag. "I'm Haru, from 3B, he said, his voice cutting through Akito's exhaustion. "The first week is always the hardest, but the stairs get easier, I promise." Adulthood turned out to be a series of small, complicated puzzles that no one had warned him about. Standing in the dim light of the basement laundromat, Akito stared at the washing machine's control panel. There were too many buttons for delicate and heavy duty, and he realized he had forgotten to buy the detergent. He sighed, realizing that even clean clothes required a strategy. Dinner was supposed to be a simple stir-fry, a recipe his mother had written down on a stained index card. However, the sizzle turned into a hiss, and soon a plume of gray smoke drifted toward the ceiling. Akito stood in his tiny kitchen, frantically waving a dish towel at the smoke detector. The rice was crunchy and the onions were black, but it was his first meal made entirely by his own hands. A sharp knock on the door interrupted his dismal dinner. It was Haru, holding a plastic container of steaming dumplings. "I smelled a culinary disaster," Haru joked, stepping inside and seeing the charred pan. They sat on the floor together, swapping stories about failed exams and the strange freedom of eating whatever they wanted for dinner. Late at night, the city lights twinkled outside his window like fallen stars. Akito sat at his small desk, the blue glow of his laptop illuminating his textbooks. The silence of the apartment didn't feel heavy anymore. It felt like space to think, space to study, and space to figure out who he was becoming. He turned the page of his book, feeling a quiet sense of pride. His phone buzzed with a video call from his parents. They asked about his classes and if he was eating enough vegetables. Akito picked up the phone and walked around his room, showing them his organized bookshelf and the small plant Haru had given him. He realized he didn't need them to fix his problems anymore, he just wanted to share his progress with them. Walking to his morning lecture, the crisp autumn air felt energizing. He didn't have all the answers yet, and his laundry was still a little wrinkled, but he was moving forward. Akito reached into his pocket and felt the cool metal of his apartment key. He wasn't just a student or a son anymore, he was himself, and the door to his future was finally wide open.